When we think about India's rivers, there's so much more than just water. They're the cultural, agricultural, and economic lifelines for over a billion people. But here's the thing, these lifelines, which have nourished the subcontinent for millennia, are in serious trouble. So, what's really going on here, especially beneath the surface? Okay, so take a look at this map. You see this incredible, intricate network of rivers crisscrossing the country, right? At first glance, it looks like there's water everywhere, just an abundance of it. But the real story? Well, it's way more complicated. It's a story about geography, about our deep, deep dependence on this water, and, a hidden crisis that's really reaching a boiling point. All right, so to really get a handle on the challenges here, we've got to understand the system itself. See, geographers basically split India's rivers into two big groups, and trust me, they couldn't be more different. They flow to a completely different beat. And what's so wild is just how different they are. So on one hand, you've got these massive Himalayan rivers. They're born from snowmelt and the monsoon, so they're flowing all year round. Think of them as these young, powerful arteries just carving these super deep V-shaped valleys. And then, on the other hand, you have the older, more, mature peninsular rivers. These guys, they rely entirely on the monsoon. That makes them seasonal, and you'll see them kind of meandering through these much shallower, wider landscapes. So you've got two totally different systems. But here's the key. They're both part of the exact same national lifeline. But, where a river comes from, that's really only half the story. The actual path it takes, that tells you so much about the land itself. It creates these really distinct patterns. They're almost like geological fingerprints. So let's dive in and break these down one by one. Okay, first up, we've got the dendritic pattern. This is the most common one you'll see. And the best way to picture it? Just think of a tree's branches spreading out. Seriously, it looks just like that. This happens when a river is just kind of following the slope of the land, over a pretty consistent landscape. And it's no surprise that this pattern, especially in the huge northern Indian plains, pretty much decides where people settle down and where farming happens. All right, next we have the radial pattern. For this one, think about the spokes on a bicycle wheel. You have rivers starting from one high point in the center, and then they just flow outwards in all different directions. A classic example of this is the Amarkantak Plateau. It's the source for both the Narmada and the Son rivers, which is wild because they flow in completely opposite directions, but they start from the very same spot. And our third type is the trellis pattern. This one looks way more, structured, more geometric. The name gives it away, right? Picture a garden trellis. You have these main rivers running parallel to each other, and then smaller streams join them at almost perfect right angles. You usually find this kind of grid-like system in places where there are folded mountain ranges. Okay, so to really see how all this geography plays out in the real world, let's zoom in on probably India's most iconic river, the Ganga. And here's the cool thing. The Ganga isn't just born in one place. It's actually forged, step by step, through a series of powerful river meetings way up in the Himalayas. So the Ganga comes to life through what are known as the Panch Prayag, 5 sacred confluences or meeting points. You have the Alaknanda River, which is kind of the main artery here. It just keeps gathering more and more water, more strength, as it merges with 4 other big rivers along its path. And this whole journey reaches its climax at Devprayag. This is the big one. It's where the Alaknanda finally meets the Bhagirathi. And it's right at that powerful meeting point that the river is finally officially born and gets the name Ganga. It's just a perfect example of how a massive river is really the sum of many, many parts. But listen, the story of India's rivers isn't just about what we can see, on the surface. The biggest, most urgent challenge right now is actually happening deep underground, completely out of sight. Yep, we're talking about groundwater. And check this out. This quote from the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council is super recent. This isn't just some casual observation. This is a full-on, official alarm bell ringing about a nationwide crisis. So let's really dig into the numbers and see just how much the country depends on this water we can't even see. Okay, get ready because these numbers are absolutely staggering. Groundwater is what fuels over 60% of the irrigation for the nation's entire food supply. It provides a massive 85% of all drinking water in rural areas. And it doesn't stop there. It covers almost half of the water needs for India's huge cities. So you see, this isn't some backup plan. Groundwater has become the main event, the primary source. And the scary part? The situation is getting worse, and it's getting worse fast. A study from the University of Michigan came out with this just jaw-dropping projection.
By the year 2080, the rate at which India is sucking its groundwater dry is set to triple. Let that sink in. Not slow down, not even stay the same. Triple. That is a terrifying acceleration of a problem we already have.
And you know what? You don't even have to look decades into the future to see what's happening. Just look at these two maps. They are only 6 years apart. The one on the left is from 2016-17. The one on the right is 2022-23. See those dark blue spots? Those are the hotspots for groundwater extraction. And you can clearly see them getting darker, bigger, and spreading out, especially up in the Northwest. This isn't some far-off problem anymore. It is happening right now, as we speak.
Okay, so with the crisis being this obvious, the big question is, what on earth can be done about it? Well, a problem this huge is being met with some equally huge, ambitious ideas. So one of the biggest, most out there proposals is something called the Indian Rivers Interlinking Project. The basic idea is actually pretty simple, but the scale, oh man, the scale is just monumental. We're talking about building a nationwide grid of canals and reservoirs to literally move water from places that have too much to places that don't have enough. And the links you're seeing on the screen here, that's just a tiny piece of the whole puzzle. The full plan is basically to replumb the entire country's water system.
But it's not all about massive engineering projects. The conversation around solutions is really heading down two main roads. The first path is all about changing the rules of the game. Basically, rethinking who owns the water in the first place. This could mean big things, like separating water rights from land ownership and giving local communities the power to manage their own resources. Then there's the second path, which is all about technology and innovation. We're talking about things like projects to artificially recharge aquifers and using super efficient tech like drip irrigation to make sure every single drop of water counts. So that leaves us at this incredibly critical point, right? India's lifelines, its very arteries, are on the brink. And the solutions being thrown around are just as monumental, from literally redirecting entire rivers to rewriting laws that have been around for centuries. So it all comes down to this one final question, a question that will honestly define the future of the entire subcontinent. Can human ingenuity and technology really reshape a nation's water destiny? Or are we just draining the future, one drop at a time?